Hormones. They are so important for so many different things. Previously, I talked about the many things that can go wrong when our hormones go out of sync. That's because our hormones are powerful and they regulate so many vital physiological and psychological processes. I even discussed a little bit in the last video how what happens when stress takes over our bodies and how this can cause hormonal havoc. Specifically, it can create this progesterone steal, which robs us of this vital sex hormone and many others. So if you missed that video, be sure to check back in the video description for the link. In this video, I want to dive deep into one of the most popular hormones that oftentimes is dysregulated and impacted for a variety of different reasons, including stress, and this is progesterone. Specifically, what I want to highlight is its major claim to fame and its main function, who progesterone really is, in other words, its biological structure, its top billing roles, although they're fertility and reproduction, there's so much more, and its systematic effects, all of its accomplishments, how it's regulated, and what healthy ranges of progesterone are. So stay tuned, because what this will do is it'll help you dive into this information and empower yourself so that you will know what your body is doing as far as functioning with progesterone, and it'll be a signal to you if something's off balance. Perhaps it could be related to this important hormone. Okay, so let's dive in. First of all, progesterone's claim to fame probably is the fact that it is most known as the pregnancy hormone, and that's because of its role in fertility. But importantly, it is not the only thing that progesterone does. In fact, I think progesterone often gets typecasted into this role of pregnancy and fertility, and we aren't looking at all of the various systematic effects it plays in both genders, biological females and biological males. Now, although it's true progesterone levels in pregnancy can be 10 times that of a non-pregnant woman, it does show that it's vital and it's absolutely essential for pregnancy. But again, there's so many other functions in the body that progesterone does. So first of all, let's talk about what progesterone is. So progesterone belongs to the progesterones group, which is hormones with similar activity to progesterone. No surprise there, nothing mind-blowing, but you may have heard of its main competition, progestins. Now, progesterone is a true all-natural steroid hormone. It has 21 carbon rings, and the progestins are the synthetic gang of hormones. And they have comparable actions to progesterone, but they aren't the real thing. Therefore, if you are kind of a research geek and looking into the literature, you want to see if the study used actual progesterone, the natural form, or progestins. Now, cholesterol, like cortisol, is another demonized player in the story of all hormones and including in the story of progesterone. Many people want to abolish it. They think it's a bad news bears because of its role in heart disease, but it's actually needed in the body for many essential things. And one of them is forming the backbone to hormones, including our beloved progesterone. So progesterone begins its life from cholesterol in the corpus luteum of the ovaries and also in the testes in the male. And it also has roots in the placenta and adrenal glands. And from there, all of the different roles emerge. So the top billing role for progesterone, as I said, is pregnancy and also fertility. For women, this would be menstruation. When a woman goes through the menstrual cycle, progesterone scoots out of the ovaries and starts preparing the uterus, which is the endometrium lining for this little bundle of joy. Now, the functions that progesterone plays to help with pregnancy are various. First of all, it relaxes the uterus, right? Because you don't want your uterus to go spastic as the egg is trying to implant. It wards off infections and inflammation, so it forms a promoting immune function, and it also protects the uterus from and the baby from any potential pathogens. It also prevents any additional mischievous sperms that would potentially interfere with what fertilization that has already occurred. So once the egg is fertilized by the sperm of choice, what happens is the placenta, which is an organ produced by the developing embryo, also begins to form. And this also pumps out more progesterone. And this kind of combination of all this progesterone stimulates a woman's breast to make milk for the baby for food. Now, if the egg escapes fertilization, the cozy, thick uterine environment that is so delicately tended to by progesterone isn't needed. So what ends up happening is the progesterone level scoots off the stage, levels drops, and estrogen actually comes onto the scene, and the uterine lining shreds and menstruation ensues. So that's the many various aspects to progesterone as far as what it does to help keep a woman's pregnant, to help keep a woman pregnant during this important time in the baby's development. Now, progesterone also has many other different effects, and this is for both men and women, and these are systemic functions, and just some of them are increased urination. So it does interact with this renin-angiotensin system, which is in the kidneys as well as in the lungs, and it helps increase urination. So think of pregnant women, they always have to go to the bathroom. Progesterone could be at play. It decreases our metabolic rate, right? So it's actually helps us break down food and different materials. So this is really good if you're thinking about you want to help the body take away things that it doesn't need and also to break things down and utilize them. It also relaxes our smooth muscles. It increases the excretion of calcium and phosphorus. It raises our basal body temperature. It has calming as well as pain-reducing properties. It's been shown to improve visual memory. It's been shown to support skeletal health, bone health. And it also has been shown to have a somewhat immunosuppressive effect. And this is likely to prevent the immune system from attacking, quote unquote, a foreign invader, which would be considered the embryo in the body. So it calms down the immune system. So because of these different roles that progesterone plays, it has been shown to be protective against osteoporosis and as well as different neurological disorders in men and women. It's also been shown to decrease breast cancer risk and other issues that happen when estrogen gets too high in females. And in males, it inhibits prostate enlargement. Now, a downstream bonus to progesterone is its metabolite allopregnanolone, which has been found in studies to have anti-anxiety and antidepressant effects. And this is likely through its modulation of mood through the neurotransmitter GABA, which is gamma-aminobutyric acid, which is a very calming neurotransmitter. So this is why all humans need to pay attention to progesterone because of these various different effects, not just related to fertility and pregnancy in biological females. Now, with all of these different roles, there's a lot going on. So progesterone has to be carefully regulated. And like all members of the hormone family, there's two ways that hormones can be regulated. One way is directly. It goes straight to the target tissue, has its effect, goes through the system, and we're done. Yeah, it's too easy, too unglamorous for progesterone. Progesterone is part of this feedback loop mechanism. And this feedback mechanism is like a telephone chain, and it has many different connections. There's three main connections, I should say, with progesterone and how it is regulated. And this is through the hypothalamus, the pituitary gland, and the gonads, which would be the ovaries or the testes. Now, it's kind of complex, but I'm going to try to break it down for you so that you understand what the regulation is and kind of where it can go wrong in the signaling processes. So once puberty is reached, the ovaries actually signal to the hypothalamus. They say, hey, we have progesterone and estrogen here. Let's use it. And the hypothalamus responds. It releases another signal through its communication called gonadotrophin releasing hormone, or GnRH for short. And this GnRH actually then calls upon follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone from the pituitary, and they're named kind of for what they do. The FSH and LH play a very important role in menstruation. They stimulate ovulation, or the follicle, and the release of the egg. So at about day 14 or mid-cycle for a woman is when estrogen levels will lower and the LH gets excited and it surges and it signals progesterone levels to go up. And then this is followed by an increase in FSH. So we're stimulating progesterone, we're stimulating those follicles, we're getting them ready for maturation. And at this point, the egg is ready to be fertilized by the sperm. And then the placenta comes into play and it secretes its quote unquote pregnancy hormone, or progesterone. And then the quote unquote pregnancy hormone, human chronotrophic gonadotropin, or HCG, which is what they use in pregnancy tests, urine pregnancy tests, also peaks in and does its thing. And then there's a home built for the baby because of all of these different hormones that's cozy and comfy in the womb. But if the egg isn't fertilized, what ends up happening is estrogen says, progesterone, you're out. It rises level, and progesterone drops, and then the uterine that it's built up, the uterine lining sheds. And that is what the menstrual cycle is, or menstruation. Now in men, same thing with the feedback loop, a little less complicated because men aren't getting pregnant at this time. So this, as the female with the GnRH from the hypothalamus, it also stimulates the same hormones in the signaling in the male, the LH and the FSH. And the LH works on synthesizing testosterone and androgens, and the FSH works on, again, we think of follicle stimulating, think of sperm stimulating production in the testicles. Now, as testosterone levels rise, the GnRH says, okay, we have enough. It exits stage left. Progesterone then comes into the main center stage, and it's a precursor to progesterone. So what happens is the LH and the FSH see, okay, progesterone's here. We will suppress testosterone, and it balances out testosterone getting too high. So these are the different regulatory methods for progesterone. And you can see in that kind of complex cycle where signaling can get off, whether it be the pituitary, the hypothalamus, or the ovaries and gonads. So it's important to look at all of these signals when someone is having any form of hormonal dysregulation, because any hormone, and we know this from the thyroid, it isn't just about a thyroid, it isn't just about the ovaries, it's about this communication process and how we can effectively manage this communication process. And sometimes if we decrease stress, we increase progesterone, and we don't have to give it externally. Okay, so that was in my other video you want to check out. And speaking of, you will also get the links to the research and the references and the resources and everything I'm saying, which is based on my original article published on Rupa Health, in the video description. Now, as far as healthy levels of progesterone, that depends on where a woman is in her age as well as in her cycle. So postmenopausal women are going to have less than premenopausal women, right? Because they're actually still fertile and they're still having pregnancies or potential to be pregnant. Obviously, the third trimester for pregnancy is going to have the highest, or maybe not highest, level of progesterone. Men are going to have less than female, and mid-cycle, that mid-cycle surge is going to be higher in females. So if you want the levels, go ahead and click on the video description, and I break them down for you, what those exact levels are. So at this point, we've gone over what progesterone is, its main roles and functions, what other things it does, how it's regulated, and what healthy levels are. So all of this is so important to understand so that you have education and empowerment about your body. And more importantly, this can empower you to have greater appreciation of staying in tune with your body, and maybe when things are off. So I hope that you can now see that progesterone is vital, and it's way more than just pregnancy and fertility. And later on in a follow-up video and article, I'm going to go deeper into progesterone, specifically when the dark side of progesterone, when things become off balance and it gets too high or too low, and what you can do about that as far as supporting optimal levels, as far as the various testing you can do for progesterone, and the pros and cons of treatment with progesterone and also natural approaches. So please stay tuned. And if you like this video, please make sure to communicate that with me and I can keep producing them. And please share that information with others so they can become empowered as well. Check out all of the free material that I have on my website and resources in the video link description, as well as the classes I offer for both consumers as well as professionals. And thank you for taking the time to learn all about your wonderful hormone progesterone and for your interest in natural health as well as wellness. And I hope that you have a beautiful rest of your day or night and take gentle care till we talk again.